Hey, good morning, friends. Today, my friends, is Wednesday, April the 8th, 2026, and the time now is 11:20 a.m. So, friends, I want to talk about Namibia and Starlink, Elon Musk, Starlink. And I want to talk specifically about the fact that Namibia denied Starlink access to its system, basically denying Starlink license to operate internet in the country, in Namibia. Now, friends, I want to first thank you for watching and for being a member of the Echoing Voice community. So I came upon this news about a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, and I haven't had the opportunity, the time to talk about it, to give my perspective on it. That is because I've been busy working on other project, and I've had a couple of videos in lines that I was editing or making to publish, to post. So a couple of weeks ago, I came across the news that Namibia had denied Starlink access, basically communication, telecommunication license, and also deny Elon Musk Starlink access to its radio spectrum. And it is said that Starlink had been operating without license in Namibia, without the authority of the government, and that many people in the country have had Starlink's equipment. Basically, they've been operating Starlink in the country without the permission of the government of Namibia, or without also following some of the policy that the government of Namibia had in terms of ownership in the country. Now, this, I think, begs the question: what are African government and countries or leaders are doing to create for Africa's sovereignty an internet-based, communication-based system, radio-based system that is uniquely African, African-owned, and African operation? And this, I believe, should be the case for Africa's independence and Africa's sovereignty. In this case, digital sovereignty. Recently, sometime last year, guys, I came across a news about a dispute between Nigeria and Meta. And Meta was being actually fined by the Nigerian government. If I can remember, I think it was 200 million or so for some things which I do not recall. And Meta basically made a threat to pull out of Nigeria. Now, if you are from the global south, whether you are old enough or even young, you might have done it yourself or witnessed your elders making calls to wherever they came from: Africa, the Caribbean, Latin America, Asia, the Middle East, calling their friends and families. And this was often done in the morning on Saturday, or it is still the case. And at some point in the early 2000s, people will use the phone cards to make calls, and those things are expensive. However, with digital technology, AI technology, and platforms such as Facebook, Meta, WhatsApp, anyone can make calls, local calls or international calls, calling friends and families. Okay, especially if you're in a country with a good access to internet. So, should Facebook, if Facebook, Meta, withdraw, okay, get itself out of Nigeria, it is going to do harm, very bad in terms of damage to the system in Nigeria, to the interconnectedness of Nigeria or Nigerian society, whether we are talking about within Nigeria or Nigeria and the rest of the world. What this is showing is that Africa doesn't own a platform or doesn't control any piece by itself in terms of its sovereignty of the digital space. And that is bad for Africa's security. And friends, this is the situation, okay, between Namibia and Starlink. This is what it is indicating. Now, Starlink had forced its way into various African countries or had been operating into various African countries. South Africa denied access to Starlink, and now Namibia had denied access to Starlink. And what they are stressing the government is the ownership policy in these countries, and also for Starlink to follow the rules and regulation of the country. Now, as much as that is the case, it begs the question once again, what are African governments and leaders and countries doing to create something, a digital space, a telecommunication space, and a radio spectrum space that is completely, totally, solely, and only controlled and operated by Africa or Africans and based in Africa without being infiltrated by outsider or outside influence. Because if outsiders can influence our digital space, our telecommunication or radio spectrum space or spaces, they can do whatever. They can corrupt the minds of the people and basically take down government. Recently, with the situation in Iran, when there was protest in Iran, it has come to light that Starlink was actually operating in Iran, okay, unauthorized. And it was the Starlink connection that enabled those outside forces or those forces in Iran that were controlled, okay, or directed by outside forces to link and basically spread misinformation and carry out unrest in Iran. And the Iranian government basically clamped down on Starlink platforms or equipment in Iran. Now, in terms of Africa, I think Namibia, South Africa, and the African countries, the rest of Africa, especially sub-Saharan Africa, where I'm from, they have to be very careful because Elon Musk and members of the West are showing themselves to be dangerous people. Whether we are talking about the situation between Trump and South Africa, when Trump accused the South African government of genociding the white South Africans. At the White House, Elon Musk was in that meeting. In fact, what we can conclude is that Elon Musk was basically a traitor to South Africa, to his own country. Whether he is now an American or not, at the end of the day, he was born in South Africa. But this also shed the light on the fact that many whites who are supposedly born in Africa, they do not share the interests of the majority black population in their various countries or the North African population in North Africa. Or to put it in simple terms, they do not share the perspective of the majority black population on the African continent, and they do not care. These whites in Africa, as they're showing themselves, they're in connection with Western governments and countries. Basically, what they are indicating to us is that they are in solidarity in terms of settler colonial solidarity. Basically, the colonizers of the world are in solidarity with one another in order to be able to maintain strength. As the professor and historian Gerald Horne will say, in terms of his perspective on class collaboration, of the fact that whites from throughout the various European ethnicity or groups, when they migrate to the United States, they all became white as a means to swell their numbers and basically subjugate the Africans and decimate the Native Americans. Now, friends, when Donald Trump took over, he began to impose sanctions on African countries. Perhaps the situation with Starlink's foray into Africa, into the African space, the African digital telecommunication and radio spectrum space, perhaps that could be another way to force Africa into capitulate, You want something from Africa or out of Africa, punish Africa and force African leaders because they do not have the capability or the capacity in various means to capitulate to your American or Starlink's policy, even though it is harmful for these countries. Now, in terms of Elon Musk and Starlink, Elon Musk continues to prove himself to be a die-hard racist. Elon Musk is a racist. In this case, I do believe Namibia and African countries need to be very careful, and they need to restrict which Westerner or European countries or individuals or institutions are granted or permitted access to their system. Whether we are talking about their social system, their university system, their internet communication, telecommunication system, or now their radio spectrum space system. These countries and institutions and governments and leaders in Africa need to be very careful about who they grant access to, because these individuals, institutions, and governments of the West could actually be Trojan horse, which could basically use their system within these various African countries to basically bring down these countries and governments and leaders. Elon Musk continues to prove himself, to show himself to be a die-hard racist. Granting Elon Musk permission, granting Elon Musk Starlink system into Namibia and the various African countries perhaps could be risky. And this, for me, I do believe it is like people giving Adolf Hitler or the Nazis some genetic data. You know, these people, the Nazis, Adolf Hitler, they are race baiters. They are racist. They are you giving them your genetic data and also giving them genetic technology. Basically, you are saying, come and kill us, come and wipe us out. So Elon Musk proving himself to be a racist, supporting Donald Trump and the MAGA far-right movement in the United States, supporting the AfD of Germany. Elon Musk coming time after time again, coming on social media and propagating racist sentiment. I think should be an eye raiser or eyebrow raiser for a lot of countries in Africa and in the global south. Yes, Starlink may seem very, very good, and your country might need access to the internet and other forms of technology which Starlink has to offer. But the owner of Starlink is showing himself to be a very dangerous human being. Therefore, I think what countries in Africa, such as Namibia and in the global south, must begin to do is to find an alternative to Starlink, to Elon Musk, and other Western system. Perhaps they can join hands together and create their own system across space, across country, or within countries. Now, this also begs the question, Nigeria being one of the powerful countries in Africa, or one of the big brother countries in Africa, big sister countries in Africa. What is Nigeria doing to create an internet, telecommunication, communication, radio spectrum space that it owns and solely operating and control without outside influence and outside infiltration? And in this case, I commend Namibia for not granting Starlink access to its system. However, I think Namibia needs to hold strong because they are going to be punished, and or they could be punished harder. But they need to protect their sovereignty, their dignity, which is in itself, in totality, it is African sovereignty and dignity, and so on and so on and so on. Now, friends, please tell me what you think, and I really, really want to know what you think. However, friends, I am going to end here. I want to thank you for being a member of the Echoing Voice community, my friends, but most especially and most importantly, or most important, my friends, I want to thank you a lot for watching the Echoing Voice. Peace, my friends. Peace.